Hey folks, it's PatriotNurse, and thanks for joining us today for our segment on Is the Constitution a Living and Breathing Document? And again, I have my faithful friend here, Reed Hendrick. Thanks for being here again today.
Oh yeah.
So I want to ask the question here and just kind of turn it over to Reed, because he's got the smarts and the historical background for these sorts of things, having taught. Well, go ahead and break your background down again. Your background in history and what you've done. So that
well, yeah. I mean, I taught high school and history for 3 years, and then I was an adjunct professor at community college and taught U.S. history there. Got my master's in history from Illinois State and a Bachelor of Science in History as well from Illinois State, and my teaching credentials from there as well. So I learned more outside of the classroom.
I'm so surprised.
Yeah, imagine that.
In the theater and the library of life.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, learned more from doing that stuff than I did in class, really. But I mean, this is a good topic today. Is the Constitution a living, breathing document? So
is it? I got to ask you, Reed. Is it a living and breathing document? Because gosh darn it, we hear it all the time on the television.
Well, is the Constitution a living, breathing document? Well, that would be like saying, is red blue? Is night day? Of course not. I mean, it's the complete opposite of a living and breathing document. And where do we have this evidence? Well, it's not just Reed Hendrick's opinion on it. Is it a living, breathing document? The men that wrote it and the men that commented on it when it was written absolutely and vehemently disagree that it is a living and breathing document. You've got where a lot of that myth comes from is this notion of implied powers. Like this notion, implied power. Like there's this, and that's really like Alexander Hamilton and Chief Justice John Marshall. Like that's where that concept comes from. But nowhere in the Constitution is there anything stated about that. Nowhere. Like nowhere is there anything that says implied powers. What you do have is the necessary and proper clause, but it's necessary and proper in the context of are these laws necessary and proper to carry out the powers granted to the federal government in Article 1, Section 8, or especially Congress, which is the lawmaking branch. So yeah, I don't understand where that comes from. It's very troubling to me that people think that it is. I mean, a rule of law is something that these are the set and established rules.
Right. Well,
so
it's a contract.
A compact or contract, whatever you want to say, but it's like, here are the established rules. This is the rule of law. The government cannot cross this. You cannot do this. A big misconception about the Constitution is that, it's there to protect your rights. Well, not really. It's actually a blueprint for government. It's a blueprint for government, and it's especially a blueprint for federal government because each state had its own constitution.
Right.
So the Constitution of the United States of America is for the federal government. Okay. So if it's a blueprint for the federal government, it strictly sets limits. So it's a blueprint against government. In other words, to check it. I mean, the entire basis for the Constitution is to check power.
Right.
So if the entire purpose of the Constitution is to check power, then how can it be a living and breathing document to fit the needs of the current moment?
So who benefits from taking that line and running it as far as they can?
So cui bono?
Cui bono, yeah.
Who benefits from the myth of a living and breathing Constitution? Well, there's a couple things. Number one, whatever political powers in control at the time.
Right.
Okay. And secondly, both parties or any party really expands the size and the scope of government because they hope to either wield that power one day or to wield it at the current moment. So that's who benefits from it. It's really not. It doesn't benefit the American people. I mean, look at how many freedoms we've lost just with this notion of the living and breathing document.
Patriot Act.
Yeah, that's a real good idea, wasn't it? I mean, we're really safer now because of that. I feel safer.
So safe.
Yeah.
So safe.
I feel safe. I may sell all my guns and stop being a firearms instructor because I feel so safe. I'll just walk right down East St. Louis and here I am, everybody. You guys know where I can find an automatic teller machine? That's how safer I feel. So anyway, it's just but it's this notion, and it's really based on nothing. And here's a funny thing, like people take the courts or the Supreme Court, like they take it as this like unquestioned liege or sage in a black robe that somehow that's what they say is absolutely sovereign.
Right.
But all they are is a bunch of government lawyers with lifetime tenure.
Yeah.
Like that's what they are. They're government lawyers, and I'm not trying to bash the respect of the Supreme Court, but we have three co-equal branches of government, right?
Right.
So how is the Supreme Court more sovereign than the legislative or the executive? I don't get that. Like, see, like justices in the old days, like they weren't viewed as these these demigods.
Demigods, perfect.
Yeah, they weren't like they weren't viewed like that. They were just, okay, there's your interpretation. Like Andrew Jackson, like when they viewed the National Bank, when they made the ruling on the National Bank, Andrew Jackson got rid of the National Bank.
Right.
He said, "Oh, the Chief Justice has made his ruling. Now let's have him come enforce it." Of course, that's Andrew Jackson, Tennessee.
Old Hickory.
Yeah, not too far from here. So, but yeah, I mean, so that's the kind of the whole thing. The living, breathing document was advocated by big government people like Alexander Hamilton and the Chief Justice John Marshall. Those were the main two, and of course, ever since then, it's just Joseph Story was another justice that really advanced that. Of course, all of them have something in common. Like they were originally Federalists, which were the forerunners to the Whigs,
right?
Which were the forerunners to the Republican Party, and all of these are traditionally big government parties. And so it would benefit them with big government to be able to interpret these laws at their whims.
Interesting. So let's think about some of the ways that we've seen this manifest, maybe within the past 15, 20 years.
150 years.
100. Okay.
Yeah, 20. Let's go with that vein. I like that.
Okay. How do you see that misunderstanding of the Constitution being a living and breathing document? How has that done damage to the average person on the street with respect to their freedoms or their abilities to do things?
Oh, well, I mean, how is it not? I think that's the question. So, like, first things first, like Department of Education. All right, where's the constitutional justification for that? Well, I'll tell you guys, I mean, being a former teacher, you have no idea how much the teachers' hands are tied, because of the Department of Education. All right, so that's, once again, the quality of students' education has suffered because of that. Quality of people's lives has suffered. Not only, I mean, are you safe in your person against illegal search and seizure from agents of government? Are your personal effects safe? Are your emails safe? Is your phone call? Are your phone calls safe? How many no-knock warrants? How much crazy stuff has been upheld by courts? No-knock warrants. People coming in your house. How much is this seizure of property? Hey, look, I don't like criminals, guys. I really don't. I don't like violent criminals at all. But you can't have your property seized without due process of the law. And these people aren't even having due process of the law. They're just seizing it at the time of their arrest. Right. Like, being arrested is not due process. You have to go through the whole trial. So, I mean, it's wrong. And as much as we look down on criminals and say, "Oh, they're dirtbags, they get what they deserve," like, that could be you one day. And I'm not advocating for like soft treatment of criminals or anything. You see it all the time. You see it. It's constantly.
What would you say, based on the path that we're on and the trajectory that we're due to follow? What do you think are some of the most pressing threats with that whole mindset of a flexible and pliable Constitution that could float around and basically be beat to fit and paid to match whatever we want? The most pressing threats upon our liberties coming down the pike.
They won't stop until they own your very soul.
That could be a threat.
I mean, they really won't. They won't stop. I mean, you see the growth of power over your life. I mean, for the greatest percentage of this country's history, the federal government had nothing to do with individuals' lives. And in the past 70, 80 years, I mean, it can reach directly in your pocket.
It's true.
I mean, it can reach directly in your pocket. And so it's really scary. And I don't think that this is the vision that the founders had in mind for a constitution. The vision they had was a constitution that would check the federal power. All you got to just read the Federalist Papers. Read the Anti-Federalist Papers, for that matter. It's all of these issues are explained. And one of the biggest concerns with the Anti-Federalists was that the congressional power to tax, they feared that it would eventually become an unlimited power. And how is it not? Every time you buy a gallon of gasoline, federal tax. Every time you drive on the road, federal tax. Every time you buy something in some way, it's there. So that's kind of where we're at.
The balance maybe is tipping at this point towards oppression versus freedom. I wonder though if it's always been that way. It's sort of like, it's the natural events of things.
Yeah, but not this rapid. Not this.
That's fair.
Yeah, not this extreme power. Like things that have happened in the past 10, 15, 20 years. Like if that would have happened like 150 years ago or more, like there would have been a serious brawl. Like there would have been a serious brawl. I know that for a fact. I mean, people went to war for a lot less stuff than that. And so you know, it's just one of these things, and I hope. I really don't think enough people are aware of what's going on yet. I think that's part of this is why we do some of this stuff, is to make them that way. Educate. And maybe you get enough people upset about it, and you know, like then that something will happen. But the living, breathing document is so asinine that it's not even worthy of. I mean, just read a freaking book. Like, and one not written by some leftist intellectual. Like, read the actual works of the people that built this country, and I think that it will become crystal clear. I showed it to my high school kids, and they're like, how can they get away with this? And that's 15, 16-year-old people. So, I guess some people don't. I guess some people aren't smarter than a 15-year-old or a sophomore.
Smarter than a sophomore.
Yeah, or a 10th grader. Are you know? So, but that's it. I mean, that's it in kind of a encapsulated version. Thank you guys so much for being here today, and thanks, Reed, for joining us for this segment here on Is the Constitution a Living and Breathing Document? I hope you guys found it helpful today. If you did enjoy the video, please subscribe by all means to me, Patriot Nurse. And is there a place where they can follow you anywhere right now, Reed? Well, I'm on Tactical Response. You know, I am on that one, so that's where I do work for it. You know, at the moment,
okay.
That's what I do. So
very good.
If they want to follow me, just you know, the video. There's a bunch of them out there, so.
Just Google. I'll just maybe put your name in the title.
You were there at the first one I ever did.
Yeah. Republic, if you can keep it.
She was there. She was there at the
inaugural information spreading event. Now you can hear me too. I was really loud on it.
She was the one, the cacophony in the background.
President accounted for. All right, thanks guys. Appreciate you guys being here. And for now, it's Patriot Nurse signing off with Reed Hendrick. We'll see you guys later. Bye. Are the centerpiece right here, because people know who I am. You gotta feature Reed.
It's crazy shit, man. I mean, it's like I don't understand how people could come up with that, a living and breathing document,
especially over time.
Why sign it at all? Like, why not just say we can do whatever the hell we want to do?
We got a verbal arrangement.
Yeah, those are worth a lot.
Let's see.
Especially over time. You should scoot over that way. Like,
yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Right, yeah. So here we are.
Sweet. Okay. Very good. Same deal.